Well, I can't hide it anymore, I love anime boys, especially their stupid weapons like the yo-yo. But don't worry, there have been just as many real but shitty and impractical weapons in human history. Do you remember the Mriya? The largest airplane on our planet, developed in the Ukraine and destroyed by the Russians. Well, long before that, Flying Miracle Oleg Antonov tried to create a real flying tank in the USSR. No, I'm not kidding. This thing was actually built as a prototype in 1942, but not to fly around like you do in GTA, imagining you're some kind of Iron Man or Invincible. No, the fact was that the Soviet army really needed to get armored vehicles and tanks to the battlefield in an efficient way. At first, the Soviets tied vehicles to the bottom of their bombers and dropped them from a low altitude, so that it wouldn't be damaged. However, this required two crew to be dropped separately so they wouldn't get hurt inside the machine. And of course, this made the vehicles an easy target for the enemy, while these soldiers climbed down and got into their tanks. So the Soviet government decided to order Oleg Antonov to develop some kind of a glider for rapid landing of tanks with the people inside. To be honest, I would have just attached a big parachute to the tank with some nasty text on it and drop it from the sky to make the Germans feel bad. But Antonov decided otherwise. He simply took a T-60 tank and added a removable cradle with large wooden and fabric biplane wings and a twin tail. It was towed by a TB3 bomber at almost maximum power of its already modernized engine at a speed of 130 km per hour. But even then, after barely lifting the T-60 by 40 meters and almost overheating its engines, the plane had to drop our tank to avoid an air accident. Although the tank managed to glide and land somewhere in a field not far from the test area, the experiment was considered a failure. Because even then the T-60 was not the most powerful and steepest tank, and the plane wouldn't have lifted anything heavier. Besides, the wings would have had to be dropped somehow after landing, so you know, it was not worth it. Anyway, do you know about the Vanudo, the fairy demon wheel from Japanese mythology? Well, it turns out the British love Japanese culture too. Otherwise, I can't explain how they came up with the Panjandrum, or as I call it, why the hell is a giant bomb on a fire wheels coming to our dog? This undoubtedly ingenious bomb car was invented by the British as a means of breaking through the formidable German defenses of the beaches of Normandy. The idea was simple: mount a bunch of rockets on two giant wheels. The British could mount up to 70 of them, connected those wheels with a drum-like axle filled with explosives, and then aim it all at the Germans. Bam! No bad guys, everybody happy. Sort of the sheer heart attack from the JoJo. But you, my wise ones, can ask, what if it hits a pebble or a hole and then a few rockets go off? Then this whole chariot of hell will start spinning back and forth and will resemble a kind of garden hose that shoots in different direction, pouring water on your pants. And now you're standing there like a pissed person and a dog is running after this hose like a fool. By the way, there was also a dog in Panjandrum's story. During one of the tests of this engineering miracle in January 1944, Panjandrum was launched to be shown to the military leadership. But of course, everything went wrong. Several rockets flew off and our bomb on wheels began to spin back and forth. Eventually, Panjandrum started driving right at a photographer, who was standing next to the military and was supposed to document the whole thing. And he did a good job, as you can see. The generals, on the other hand, ran for cover from this miracle bomb, while the dog of one of the army officers decided to chase one of the rockets that flew off the wheel. Because, you know, stupid dogs. I hope he was okay, by the way, because I haven't found any information about this dog after the accident. As you can imagine, it was a flop and the project was shut down, leaving us wondering why it couldn't have been something like a big rocket on wheels instead of a bunch of mini rockets that kept flying off. Didn't the Brits play bad piggies or what? But the Germans must have enjoyed playing it and watching the Looney Tunes. Otherwise, I can't describe how they came up with the idea of the Kromlov, or a rifle with a barrel of varying degrees of curvature. The Kromlov appeared in 1944, when the Germans were losing the war and were desperate, so they were willing to try to anything to turn the tide, and developing a weapon that could shoot at an angle might be just what they needed to win. You sit in a hiding place, keep your head down and shoot at the enemy. It's a win-win. The Kromlov was produced in both infantry and armored versions. The infantry version had a 30-degree barrel, while the armored version used a more extreme 90-degree bend. But something went wrong. First of all, the kind of curved barrel created at least an incredible gas pressure inside sight, which is why this design lasted for 300 shots. Like even with conventional straight barrels, there are occasional problems with normal cartridge ejection, and when it has to follow the curve, the bullets often broke, and could even fly into a friendly soldier standing nearby. As a result, the effectiveness of the shot was reduced to about your financial situation. Second, the Krumlau was very inaccurate. Even though this weapon was only meant to be used at close range or to shoot from armored vehicles to scare away soldiers, it still had the accuracy potential of your cat when it shits near the litter box instead of an it. But the cat does it on purpose, and the rifle, I think, should behave differently. It would be better to attach the gun to a helmet and shoot that way. The accuracy is just as bad, but at least it looks cool. Albert Bacon Pratt may have thought so, but unfortunately he was thinking in 1916 in the United States when he developed his new invention, a helmet gun. According to Pratt, his invention allowed you to subconsciously aim and shoot at enemy without using your legs, arms, and sometimes even your eyes. For example, during a night hunt or ambush, if the shooter heard a suspicious noise, he would instinctively turn his head in the direction of the noise and fire. How, you ask? With the help of this tube that went to the mouth. You just have to blow into the tube and the helmet would shoot. And if you turn the helmet upside down, you can use it as a kitchen utensil to cook food. No, it's obvious that this is a brilliant idea, but of course I'm a little worried about how Pratt was going to make the soldiers deal with the recoil of the shot. Shooting at who knows where in the dark might be fun, but trying to fight in a state of inadequacy and with tinnitus afterwards is a bit of a dick move. But who am I, a guy with a 1 subscriber, to judge great developments? In fact, I believe that this thing in the photo is the first FPV drone. Meet the Hyler VZ1 Pony, or as fans of these guys with superpowers would call it, a Green Goblin. It's a kind of flying platform developed by the US in the 1950s that could be used in a variety of ways, but the military really wanted it to be something like a reconnaissance drone. A total of 3 versions of this wonder were developed, and the first flight took place on January 27, 1955. The controls were very simple. If you wanted to go up or down, you changed the power of the fans, and to steer the device in the air, the soldier just had to adjust his body movements properly. But with the development of each new version, the maximum lift and height increased, but also at the volume and weight of the platform itself. So in the latest version, third, it was no longer possible to simply use body movements, and a helicopter rudder and a seat had to be installed on the platform. Even though it's look impressive and I would love to fly it and buy energy drinks at Walmart, this device was not developed further. The main reason was that a soldier in the air on this platform was a very easy target for the enemy, because 1 or 2 shots and you already fallen from God knows what's high. The US was also developing air cycles at that time. It looks even less safe for the pilot, and since we don't see any flying gliders on AliExpress, this project was also closed. But what I would like to see in all the cities of Russia is the Blue Peacock project. In other words, a colossal nuclear mine that was developed by British engineers in 1954 to potentially be used against the Soviet Union if they wanted to take over the rest of Germany. As you can see, the mines were not small, each have explosion power near 10 kilotons. It's about twice as powerful as the bomb that destroyed Nagasaki. There were a lot of problems during development. For example, how do you detonate these mines? Should we just make them mines, or should we just put timers on them, or detonate them remotely? But the most important problem was the weather. During the winter in northern Germany, temperatures often dropped below freezing, especially underground. This could easily disable the mine, and the scientists came up with what I think was a brilliant idea. No, they didn't put some kind of heater inside. They decided to put a chicken inside the body of each bomb, so that it could survive for 8 days. The heat from their bodies would keep the mine warm, and the chicken would probably have to be replaced somehow until it was time to detonate, I don't know. A total of 10 of these mines were ordered, but unfortunately or fortunately this weapon was never put into practice, and it's not certain that more than 2 were ever created. So don't be worried about the chickens. And if you wanna know about women problems in the medieval era, click on this video, but only after you subscribe to the channel.